Recently, one of Pat Robertson's viewers wanted to ask him about the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court deemed same-sex marriage constitutional, and of course, there are some religious people that are riled up about it. Eugene is one of them. Here's what he had to say. Why are these men not called out for the genocide against the unborn, right? So he kind of moves on to the issue of abortion. Why did they live to such an old age after committing such a despicable act that has brought a curse upon the land? Well, Pat Robertson has the answer for this, so let's take a look.
My wife and I are lifelong 700 Club members. We often hear how the Republicans are so against abortion and Democrats are so pro-choice. But this was not the case on the Roe v. Wade decision. 3 Nixon appointees, Blackmun, Powell, Berger, and 2 Eisenhower appointees, Brennan and Stewart, comprised a Republican majority, even without the 2 Democrats, Marshall and Douglas, voting. Why are these men not called out for the genocide against the unborn? Why did they all live to be such an old age after committing such a despicable act that has brought a curse upon the land? Please set the record straight.
Well, you'll have to ask God why he didn't kill him. I'm not in charge of the death or life of the Supreme Court judges, so it's in God's hands whether they live a long life. But that thing was called Blackmun's abortion, and Blackmun indeed was a Nixon appointee. You're absolutely right.
It's amazing. It's amazing that his viewer is like, yeah, why didn't God kill them all?
Okay.
They should be dead.
Okay, so the Roe versus Wade decision was in 1973. There's apparently a curse upon the land that has persevered since then. Is he talking about the Reagan Revolution? What's he talking about? I mean, it's been a long time since 1973, right? What is this curse that you speak of? And then why did God allow that curse? I'm always confused by the religious, right? So they say, oh, we've brought this great shame upon God and God has to punish us. Okay, wait. Did God not see that coming? Was he like, geez, Lord mercy, man, I put 5 Republican justices on there and they still did Roe v. Wade. I thought he was all-knowing. I couldn't have caught him by surprise, right? And second of all, the guy does have a good question if you actually believe literally the Bible, right? Well, why didn't he punish the justice who did it instead of us for all these 40, 50 years with whatever fucking curse he's talking about, right? So there is no good answer to that. And if you break down fundamentalist Christians, who do they sound like? Why weren't our enemies killed by God?
Yeah, it's interesting that they have that kind of thought process, that they would want that kind of violent act towards someone that they disagree with on something like abortion. Well, Pat Robertson seems tame in that first video, but in the second video, he delves into the issue of eugenics and how abortion was utilized for eugenics. Take a look.
Yep.
They picked up stuff from Planned Parenthood and other population. The wealthy people of our country wanted to make sure that the black and the less fortunate didn't outbreed us. So they wanted to make sure the population of those people stayed small. I know that sounds gross, but that's what they believed. And then they had Margaret Sanger, who was saying that black people are inferior, that southern white people are inferior, that European Protestants are inferior. I mean, she went all the way down the line. She wanted eugenics. And so they bought into that.
That man has no neck. Like, I can't
Let's get to the important stuff here, okay?
Okay, I just can't get over the fact that I can't see his neck.
Maybe
anyway,
that's
sorry.
the curse upon the land.
Maybe.
Then God smit us all. Is it smitten? Okay, he smited us all and took away our necks. Okay.
I'm sorry for bringing up that very superficial point, but the man has no neck. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about what he had to say. Like, this is another attack that Planned Parenthood has to deal with on a regular basis. What he just said was debunked, okay? Planned Parenthood, I love how people think Planned Parenthood is the only organization that does abortions. And it's only 3% of what Planned Parenthood does. But nonetheless, they did not start a eugenics program. They were not conspiring to get rid of the black population. It's all BS. It's completely made up.
So why does God never do any of the things he promises? Why does he rely on lunatics here on earth to so-called do his bidding? Again, no matter what the religion is, right? Yeah. If God is so strong, why doesn't he show up and do his own dirty work, right? Why does he need to give you incentive to get your 72 virgins or with these lunatics to go shoot up, at Jewish museums, community centers, Sikh temples, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on, right? Why? no. Why does God need a spaceship? Right? But no. Every one of them believes like, oh God, our enemies, if only God would, kill them, that would be great. But he hasn't showed up since 1973. So maybe perhaps you start to think all that stuff that was written down thousands of years ago is total baloney, but that never occurs to them, right?
Yeah.
Still waiting on Godot.
Also, look, I don't know Eugene, and maybe he's very charitable, and maybe he helps people who...
Yeah, sounds like it.
Right, who helps people who have babies that they didn't plan on having, right?
Oh,
but
sure.
but for all the religious people out there who are against abortion, there are two things that you should be the most concerned about. You should be concerned about contraception, so people don't get pregnant in the first place and you don't have to worry about abortion. And then you should be worried about funding programs that would help mothers take care of their kids if they're needy. I don't see a lot of Republicans or conservatives pushing for programs like that. In fact, I see a lot of Republicans or conservatives pushing to defund programs like that. You know why? Because you don't want abortion, because you love the idea of someone being punished for having sex and getting pregnant when they didn't want to get pregnant. That's what it's about.
Eugene, if you really meant what you say about being a Christian, instead of worrying about who was killed or not killed by God, you'd go help the needy. For people who have no necks, you would give them necks.